Welcome again with me to the Unbreakable Woman Podcast show, a victory and our journey. And today with me, we have amazing women in the house, powerhouse. And why I call them powerhouse, you would know in a short while. And their names are Mrs. Laide Daramola and Mrs. Abby Daramola. Pardon me, Pastor Abby Daramola, so that I do not get fined today. But I'm going to be reading their profile in a short while, and you will see a reason why I call them the powerhouse. And for me, one of the reasons why we actually have this podcast show is to empower, inspire, and encourage a lot of women via the stories, the struggles other women had faced, via their challenges. So I'm just going to say a little bit about Mrs. Laide Daramola, also known as Laide. So she's a filmmaker and she's the senior project manager, renowned for her multifaceted expertise with an impressive portfolio spanning from NASA, the U.S. Department of State. She also combines a passion for media with asset project management skills, delivering exceptional results on the upfront. Now, one of the things that fascinates me about her is not just because she's a visionary and entrepreneur, but the fact that against all odds in her industry, she just keeps going and she keeps breaking limits. She's actually a graduate from the University of Middlesex University, and she also went further to Harvard University to get a certificate in nonprofit management and leadership. So, welcome with me today, Lady Laide Daramola. And also joining me on this amazing podcast show today is Pastor Abi Daramola, whose full name is Pastor Abimbola Abeni Daramola, also known as Pastor Abi for short. So she is the pastor of Restoration Church in Greybelt and also the provincial pastor in the Redeemed Christian Church of God. And one of the things she shares mostly with Lady Laide is the fact that they are both individuals who are phenomenal givers to the things of God. And they have done a lot of non-profit events. They are both partners. They are both best friends. Rarely will you find a mother and a daughter who actually are best friends and they look alike. I even thought they were sisters. So with your emojis, with your claps in the comment box, please welcome with me Pastor Abby and Lady Laide with me in the house today.
Thank you.
Come on, let's give some
Thank
claps.
you. Thank
So,
you. very much.
when I met them, one of the things I said to myself when I saw the synergy between both of you, I just felt that you need to be on this podcast because you hardly see a mother and daughter relationship as they grow, the daughters grow older. Of course, every mother will say, my daughter is my best friend while they're growing up. But when the relationship grows to a older level in terms of the daughter now is maybe in her 20s or 30s, she finds somebody else to call her best friend. They don't do so many things together, but you do so many things together.
Yes.
It's really rare to find that. And I felt that you must be on this podcast show. And I'm excited and I'm happy to have you here on the Unbreakable Woman's podcast show. And
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank
We're
you
quite
for coming.
excited to be here
Thank
with
you.
you today. It's an honor and a privilege to
Thank
even
you.
meet you, and we're excited to share. We have
Yes,
lots of
we
nuggets
can't
and
wait.
experiences
We
that
can't wait.
your audience will be able to gain from.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
So
Thank you,
starting
Bobby.
from Pastor Abby,
Okay.
let's go into how Pastor Abby came to be Pastor Abby before she became to be your mom. So looking at the fact that you have an African lineage, how did you actually raise a godly child in the United States? And you grew up also loving each other, becoming each other's best friend. I know the God factor is there,
Yeah.
but can you just give us a deeper understanding?
Well, I believe for someone who's going to be successful, Living intentional is extremely important. I was raised by a mother that was very strict. She was a teacher, and going to the United States at the age of 16,
Wow.
which was like 49 years ago, I went with a very naive mindset, but a mindset to be intentional because we grew up that way. And basically, to also be yourself. My mother too was my best friend. So every step of my life, I was guided by my mother and then my husband, who was then my boyfriend. My life was built on setting goals, even when we didn't know the Lord, setting goals and accomplishing the goals, whether we like it or not. So that has been my natural nature, to pursue something and to make sure once you start, you must finish. And that was how I grew up. And then when I had my children too, I want to play basketball. Are you sure? Yes. You know, when we start this game, you must finish. So half the way, I don't feel like playing basketball. It's no longer
Accepted.
It's not. We don't even talk about it. Even if you don't like it, we've started it. There's something you will learn from it. So basically, to live a life of being intentional in all you do, without even knowing God then well as I do now, was a lifestyle we've always had. So what made it even sweeter was to have a dimension of the fact that God has a purpose for your life, and not just living intentionally, but living intentionally, aligning with God's plan for one's life. You know, we made mistakes in our lives in terms of, for example, I was an IT person, I was an engineer, and I wanted my daughter to be this. Well, because not only do I want her to be, she actually has the gift, which is not just pushing her. They are all analytically driven. So, but she wanted to do media, TV, and then who does that? So and in the American mindset as well, you look at all these superstars and you don't want your daughter to live those type of lives, not knowing that we are quite ignorant then. So just align with them, and they've always been my friend.
I think it
all of
also
them.
helped that she was quite young when she had me. You know, she was 21 or
22.
22. Yeah, so I think her approach to parenting, even though early on we had, when I was a teenager, like 12, 13, 14, we had our issues. My dad at that time was my bestie. And so things kind of shifted as I grew up. But I think the nature of our relationship has evolved, over the years. And, you know, now as much as we're best friends, we are also colleagues. We're also like, we brainstorm together.
Business
we also,
partners.
yes, you know, I always say every king has a prophet, and I see her as my prophet. You know, she speaks into my life, you know. So like, she helps direct me, and even me, I help direct her. She'll be like, oh, this is what's going on, I don't know how to approach this. And so the communication, I think, being able to be free with someone, and that's what you look for in a best friend, or in a relationship. And it just happens to be that she's also my mother.
Amazing.
Yes.
That's really applaudable. But how do you actually grow this relationship of mother and daughter relationship, moving from just she's my mom and now she's in the business? Don't you ever think that it gets to a stage whereby she wants to be that mother figure in the business, and you feel, mommy, no, we shouldn't go this way?
It's the other way around.
Don't you have that friction?
No, in the business, you know, it's a nature. My nature is I'm very compassionate.
Okay.
I'm very caring. I bring emotions into the business.
Okay.
And you know, let me step back a bit. My husband is a businessman.
Okay.
He's very savvy. He doesn't do emotions. If he borrows you money, it's a borrow. If he gives you, it's a give. For me, if you borrow, you borrow, you give, they are the same. And it doesn't work that way in business.
Absolutely.
She's like her dad. So what is
Okay.
happening is, what happened was that, what's happening right now is that balance
Is there.
is there.
To complement
You know,
both
when I need
complement
to say,
each
Mom,
other.
we can't do this.
And when,
And-
when
and-
she says, you need to calm down, like they're people,
They need
so
help. And she said, we have a business.
Absolutely.
You understand? So it kind of balances out
yeah.
because I know I'm an extreme. We all know, everybody in my family.
And
in
I
terms
could be
of the- and
extreme in the
she's
other
also
way. So
an
we-
extreme in the other way, because I will let my emotions, my caring, oh, they're crying, they're going to throw them out,
Okay.
get out of the reality of the fact that, you know what, they're going to get into that same trouble again and again and again if you don't, let them know that what they're doing is wrong. Or she's like, Mom, we can't do that. So it kind of works out because I know I'm extreme. She knows she's extreme. So we kind of say, okay, let's meet this way. This is what we're going to do.
we meet halfway.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of
Beautiful.
times.
Yeah.
And business is not always about emotions.
Oh, yes.
So if you don't have somebody helping you to create the balance,
Yes.
then of course it becomes a really big issue.
Yes.
Yes.
And some things might really go really bad before
Yes.
you know
Oh,
it.
yes. I've done.
Absolutely.
I
I've
love
gone.
the fact that you both have different perspective towards the business. She comes with the emotion, you balance it with the logic. So when the emotion is needed, it comes to play, because sometimes it's needed as
Absolutely.
well. It's not all the time that it has to do
Yes.
with logic as well.
I want to say something. There's also something that sometimes when I'm really, really convicted about something, I'll hide it and I'll make that decision. 99% of the time, when I make the decision, I'm always wrong.
Wow.
She'll
Yes.
have to backtrack and
I have
come
to
back and be
backtrack.
like, this is what I
I
did.
said I did this.
But that's
Like I'm talking about financial and
Yes, I know.
business.
It's-
Because I'm like, oh my goodness, life is so hard. We
my
need to do this. This is not right.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time,
she's right.
yeah, and I yes, but I just believe that it opens up the transparency, because now on both sides I say, I know you don't like it. I know you may not agree with me, but this is what I want to do. So there is no hiding anymore. It's happens over time for me to understand that for this to work, both of us we have to be 100% transparent.
Yeah.
And we're 100% truthful to one another. It's hard. There are certain things you would think your daughter would not want to tell the mother. We don't have that kind of information.
Wow.
There are certain things you think, how would you tell your daughter? She's no longer 5. She's no longer 10. She's no longer
15.
She's 40.
43.
43. So there's nothing I've gone through life she hasn't gone through. I've gone through pain. She's gone through her own share of pain.
Yes.
I've gone through success. She's gone. So it's no longer that age gap anymore. Even though there are some things that wisdom comes in and she respects that. I said, I know you're smart, but I think we need to exercise wisdom in this. I've gone through this in the past and it works out well.
Amazing.
Yeah, we respect that.
That's beautiful to hear. So I want to ask about you now, Lady Lydie.
Okay.
What made you move from what you studied? You went to Harvard, you even learned about leadership, which of course still is good in what you're doing right now. And only for you to find yourself in filmmaking.
Okay.
Because for me, looking at you, they don't have a demeanor anyway, but you don't look like a filmmaker. But I don't know if you've heard that before.
No, I haven't.
But for me, you don't look like someone who's a filmmaker. You look like someone who actually loves to read. You look like someone who actually can either be into tech or an engineer. So now you are actually, so when she said you are quite analytic, I could see that on your face actually, that you look like someone in that particular sector. But now filmmaking. So why filmmaking?
So my journey in filmmaking is actually, so I was really blessed to grow up in a household where our education was really important, and my parents were quite intentional about the schools that we went to. So in my, I don't know what you call it here, but in middle school,
Okay.
before you go to high school, at the age of like 12, 13, I was part of a production team, morning news at my school. It was a video production that every morning would talk about the activities in school and everything. And I was quite chunky and I didn't like going outside for recess. So I'd find myself going to that library, to the media center every single day to prepare for the next day. And I just fell in love with production at that point. So quite early on, I knew I was made for production.
Nice.
But real life happened, and I had to make a decision to go to university. And my parents were quite firm on the fact that, you know, how many people in the entertainment industry actually break through and make it to Hollywood, you know, in terms of, you know, we're on the East Coast, you're aiming for West Coast life, you know.
And they're African parents.
They're
remember?
African parents. They want you to be a doctor, a lawyer. My mom wanted me to use my math skills and be an engineer like herself. And so I was willing to, I naturally, at that point, I was a pleaser type of child. I didn't want to
Okay.
disappoint them in any way.
Amazing.
And so I said, you know what, let's cut a deal. You know, I'll find a school that I can study both, get 2 degrees,
Wow.
computer science and film in 5 years. So that was it. I chose my university based on that. And so I started that journey. I started working at Fox 45 TV. This is at 18. So we finished high school at 18 in the US. And so that was my journey. And then I realized that America was getting a little dry and stale for me. So I wanted to explore, and I decided to move to the UK to study abroad for 6 months. When I studied abroad for 6 months, I was so amazed by the diversity of London. And I was like, I'm not going anywhere. So I was like, Mom, Dad, I want to stay here and finish my degree. They're like, no problem, but you better come back and finish in the same time. And there was no way I was going to be able to do that if I pursued film. So I just got my degree in computer science and kept it moving, started working in that field quite immediately as soon as I returned to the US. So how I transitioned, over the years, you know, I played with a lot of businesses that, you know, I was privileged to be, you know, learn from my parents or, you know, gain the skills from being around them. So at some point, I still got tired of the United States and transitioned and moved to Nigeria. I continued to work in the IT space in engineering.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria. So I lived in Nigeria from 2007 to August 2016, right before I had my twins. And so not only working in IT, I had a thriving business. It was the most popular events, fruit design, fresh juice, salad business for weddings. I humbly say that there's no governor or presidency or anyone with influence that I did not serve with my fruit and baskets and juices and salads. And so I did that in my spare time, but obviously my business did better than my day job. And so eventually when I had the twins and, you know, I had a daughter who had sickle cell, I had to re-strategize my life and really focus down on what I wanted for myself and where I wanted to be and how I saw my future. And I knew that I had so many experiences along the way that I was made to share in some way. And this output, the way I could put it out there, was with writing and with telling stories. And so after COVID, I just sat down with myself. Actually, a friend of mine, she's actually a preacher as well. She saw me and she was like, you look like a shadow of yourself. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. I said, you know, we just got through this, you know, bone marrow transplant and all of that. I'm tired, you know. I don't want to be at NASA anymore. I don't want to be doing project management anymore. She's like, what do you want to do? What do you want? I said, I just want to make movies. And she said, give yourself permission to do so. And so that's how I started the journey 3 years ago now. And 10 films later, you know.
Wow, impressive.
Here we are today.
10 films.
Yes.
I think I have I want to take you back before we talk about your films. You said something which was one of the challenges you went through, having twins and having one of your daughter having sickle cell, being diagnosed of that. So how did you, and it was really going to be really hard to deal with then.
Mm-hmm.
How did you actually manage this? How were you able to overcome the challenge?
Mm-hmm.
And what was the lesson you learned along the way?
Wow. So, pretty much, I first of all, I had the twins early. I had them at 31 weeks, so that's 7 months, a bit
Oh,
over 7 months. So, um, straight away, I knew that there was stuff that was wrong. Like lungs weren't fully developed, heart had issues, and all of that. And I think it was the
for
second
both
day.
of them, or just
Yeah, both of them actually, because they came early.
yes.
But I remember the nurse came to my room and was like, "Oh, the doctor needs to talk to you." And I mean, I understand that language because my dad has had health challenges. I've had people in my life that had health challenges. So when they say the doctor wants to talk to you, oh crap, what is it, And they're like, "Oh, one of your babies, baby A, has sickle cell." And I was
Oh
like,
my
"Oh my
God.
goodness, okay, no problem." So straight up, American system, they're like, "You have nothing to be worried about. There's a support system." But she was having so many challenges anyway. They ended up helicoptering her to Children's National. So she left the birth hospital, and her twin remained there for a month, and she remained at Children's National, which is one of the best children's hospitals in the world. And so they were like, "No, we have a sickle cell clinic, we have a plan, da 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 da." So I think, first of all, we're really blessed to have really good medical health care for her, and always choosing to inform myself of what was happening. So at a certain point in her life, I think she was like 1 or 1.5. One of the doctors recommended she be on a medication, which is a low dose chemotherapy. And so I was quite scared about it. I had seen so many things on Facebook, when you join all these groups that don't do this, don't take this,
Absolutely.
it's going to kill you,
Absolutely.
you won't be able to have children, you won't be able to do this or that. But luckily, God just gave me the wisdom to ask. And so I called a girlfriend of mine. She's a medical doctor in Boston, and acute care doctor. And I said, "Look, they want my daughter to take this medicine." And she was like, "You know what? You'll be doing her a great injustice if you don't give it to her." And so we started immediately, and that really helped her out. And I can imagine now that if we didn't use that medication, she probably would have had a stroke at 2.
Wow. A stroke at 2?
Yeah.
Oh my
So,
God.
So that decision actually helped us, with her, not having crisis and all of that. So one of the routine yearly visits that we do is a brain scan for children with sickle cell, just to ensure that they're not having a stroke. And so we had our routine thing, and I think not even up to 2 hours later, I got a call, and the doctor wants to talk to you. I was like, "Oh crap," you know. And so she said, "Look, the velocity in your daughter's brain is super high,
Oh no.
and it's in a dangerous place, and we need to find something." And I said, "Okay, no problem. What do we do now?" She's like, "In 3 months, we'll do it again." And that 3 months was March. And so by the time we did it in March, it had even escalated. And at this point, she had been talking since very early on. So she was starting to slur her speech and all of that. And so we knew something
Something
was
was wrong.
definitely wrong. So immediately, they started, transfusing her every 3 weeks, every 2 weeks, all these type of things, just try to kill time. COVID came, and all the plan was to have a bone marrow transplant for her, because at this point it was an emergency. She needed it. We already knew that her sister was her perfect match at that point.
Her
So
sister was a perfect
yes,
match.
which is rare for
Wow.
black people, because
Wow.
the average black person or African person or Hispanic, non-white, wait 5 years or more on the bone marrow transplant list, because to find a
yes.
match is usually
Wow.
someone from your ethnicity, and naturally foreigners are afraid to give anything that has to do with blood or cells or anything like that. So black people usually wait for a
So
long,
Longer
long
than the
time.
white.
God designed a sister to be a savior at that particular point.
Yeah.
To
So
be
the
a perfect
solution was
match.
in the womb with her.
Yeah.
You know, what you just said, sorry, I had to just, you said something that the solution was in the womb.
Yeah.
And this brings me to understand that God always gives us our solution.
Yes, yes.
But sometimes we've not been able to open our eyes
To see.
to see it, to locate it.
Absolutely.
Please go ahead. Sorry,
Yeah. So I think at this point, God just used the medical teams at Children's National to really advocate for us that they couldn't wait to do her bone marrow transplant. Number one, because of COVID, generally when you have a bone marrow transplant, it's in an isolation wing because they kill all your cells with chemotherapy. You're at 0, and then they now give you new cells. So the fear was, in a time where people were coming to the hospital and dying from COVID, how would you make sure that nurses and doctors were not coming in and into an isolation wing to infect a child that has
zero
zero immune
and she's just 2 years old.
She was 3. Yes.
3 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Wow.
So but we did it afraid. We had no choice, and so we moved into the hospital in November. Right. I think the day after Thanksgiving is an American holiday, a big American holiday. And she went through everything. She had her central line put in. And on her 4th birthday, December 10th, both her and her sister had surgery, like a 4 to 6 hour surgery to take the bone marrow out of her hips because she was too little to do it peripherally. So they took the bone marrow out of her hips both to have enough because she too was little. And then she was in the one hospital room with her in recovery, and I was with the other child. And then they airlifted it to get tested in several labs to make sure that it was good. There's no COVID, there's no this. It was still a perfect match and all of that. They brought it back to the hospital and put it in her body. So we celebrate 2 things on their birthday.
Oh my God.
We say it's Abigail's rebirth day.
Oh.
So she's 4 and 8.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is really, it's a touching story. And yes, you can smile about it now because God has given us the testimony.
Yes.
But it wasn't a funny experience
At all.
that time. So I'm going to ask your mom this question. I know she was a good support system, but how did you feel and how did you manage the situation, seeing your granddaughter going through all of this and your daughter as well, because I'm sure you never had that experience. So how did you feel and how were you able to go through it?
Well, being there for Lydie wasn't even an issue. It's not an option. And we knew she needed help. She is a single parent, and they have 2 children, and therefore, under normal circumstance, somebody has to stay with one and the other. One thing I can thank God for is that she also has a very great father. So both of us really were hands-on.
Amazing.
Yes, both of us. So
Amazing.
in terms of the journey, we already knew that it was COVID, so we couldn't work, but we all had the plan in place. I have my role, the dad has his role, and she has her role. So basically, we got isolated from the whole world for this to happen. We can't talk to people. People can't talk to us.
We didn't go grocery
We
shopping.
didn't go grocery shopping. We didn't do
People
anything.
drop stuff at the door.
Because I cannot go when we need to swap in the hospitals. So if for any reason she needs to come home to see the other girl, because she cannot come to the hospital at all. The other twin cannot. The only time they saw was on the day they did the
surgery.
The surgery
The
when
transplant.
one gave and the other took.
Receive.
So they met. They allowed them to meet in the room for like 5 minutes to celebrate their birthday. Yeah.
And it was the doctors that advocated for that. That they haven't seen each other in a month. Blah blah blah.
So they made
they
a
tested
case
us 3
with
times
the management of the hospital for both of them to just see each other. So after that, the journey began for months. That when she has to go
again.
No, in terms of her staying in the hospital.
Yeah, I stayed in the hospital for months because she had complications from the transplant. And then eventually when we came home, we separated again. We stayed in the basement and they stayed upstairs. So
Upstairs.
they would sit one would sit at the top of the steps and the other would sit at the bottom of the steps and be on their like iPads playing something, or they'd be
Oh my
talking.
God.
Yeah.
Because
Oh my God.
because she has no immune system.
It was just developing.
So we have to. It's a plan that everybody
Has to
had
work
to work,
together.
and thank God it was just.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that I don't even know what to say right now. Like having a 4-year-old both in the house and they can see each other and they have to just like communicate via an iPad. It's really something that I'm still finding it quite uneasy to understand how you were able to manage that situation. But I must give kudos to your mom as well, because going through challenging times when you don't have the support of family, you don't have the support of your loved ones who would help you through it, it might be more difficult, it might be more challenging, it might even break some people actually, and a lot of people do not recover quickly. And that's why for me, when anyone is going through tough times, have the right circle of people in your life.
Oh, absolutely.
Let me tell you, if we were not there for the plan to work during COVID, maybe any other time, but the plan to work during COVID, I must be 100%. The dad must be 100%. We all had to be 100%.
Even our church community.
At the church, even the church. Yes.
So at a certain point, there was no blood or platelets in the United States.
Yes.
There was a shortage because people weren't coming to the hospital. People were dying in the hospitals. So people weren't donating. And so one of the things that happens when you have a bone marrow transplant is as your cells are trying to rebuild, you need blood.
Yes.
You need platelets to help it keep like boosting until it can generate for itself. And so there was none. And so I remember one day they were like, oh, we're flying in some blood for Abby from the United Kingdom, from different states, all over the place. They're like, do you think you can get your community to donate for her? Because we're going to share it with other children. So this is mind-blowing. In the United States, at this time, there could be such a thing. So I went on Instagram, I called our church community, and particularly Facebook. It was easier for men to donate because they don't need to do tests. For women who have had children or whatever, there's like antibodies in play and all of that. So it would take longer. The results take up to a week to come out. So I would just like literally plead for like men to come on a daily basis, 2 or 3, because one could come and it could not work for her.
Absolutely.
So we'd have 2-3 people on a roster from predominantly our church community come into the hospital, donate, just to make sure that she could survive till the next day.
Actually, I think someone also came from North Carolina because from the Facebook.
From Facebook. Someone from North Carolina. Someone came from Atlanta.
Flew in just to give to her. They saw it on Facebook. They came. It was really, really, it was mind-blowing for us as well.
Yeah, just the support
and the kindness. People are kind.
Absolutely.
Very compassionate people.
I think that's one of the things for me I love about the US as well.
They came.
Because you get sometimes the support when you just raise it online. And some people just go to GoFundMe and you just see people just support you unknowingly and makes it really interesting and what's living in such a community sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go to mommy as well now and talk about raising children. I know I spoke a little about that, but you had your career as well. You had your business, you were raising 4 children. So what were the challenges for you raising 4 children, along having a career, along having a husband as well, who actually would also demand for your attention? So how were you able to manage all of those things?
Well, raising my children was not difficult because I think I was blessed to have children that are not difficult to raise. There are some. Nice. Yes, that's one.
I thought you were going to say like you had people around to help.
Yeah, well, we didn't have people around. We paid for people to come around because of my career, and my husband was also a businessman.
Okay.
So from little, they've always had a nanny.
Nice.
So in the United States,
it's good to have money when you're in the United States.
Yes, it is.
They've always had a living nanny. So again, as Mrs. said yesterday, let your money work for you.
Yes, send your money on errand.
Exactly. So our money worked for us.
Beautiful.
So it didn't take away from the fact that we need family. So my mother was in the United States as well, but she has 6 children. And so she had to rotate into 6 families. So I'm always the one that had the least help then, because everybody else were younger.
Okay.
So number one, we had the living that comes to help. But also we also live in a community where so many things are structured.
Okay.
Yes, and we just play into the system that was put in place.
Nice.
And we just follow through. But also, I'm also an addict for education. They know I'm still studying till today. I have exams coming on. So they were
at
raised.
65?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Impressive.
Well, it's just I was raised like that. So that also came to play, because going to school, studying, it's not negotiable. So they have been raised that way. Not that some of them did not rebel, or even her. I'm not going to, because you have masters, I don't have to have masters.
Yeah.
Because that's all of them.
I didn't do my master's until I was 40.
Meanwhile, I did my master's when I was 24.
And you were living with an African parent.
Yes. And my husband, we did his, we were like boom, 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 boom. We were always going. And our kids are like, no, we don't have to. Not all our friends are doing that. So we had that. But the bottom line is that we kind of set a path which they gladly followed. And that's what I can say is just God. It's just God. They weren't difficult children at all.
So let's give kudos to God and to your beautiful parents as well.
Yes.
But it's something that an African parent always want to do, to always sometimes have their children live the life they feel is the best for them. But one of the things I felt you did also was that you were able to manage it as an African parent living in the United States, not just to have your way, but yes, you put them in the right part of school, but you still allowed their own opinion to count.
Yes,
But
exactly.
in today's setting, you hardly have such from older generation, except for the younger ones coming up now, are able to understand some of these things, and of course allow their children make the decision. But as of the time you were growing up, did you feel that they were too bossy and too rigid? And
I didn't really feel like they were too rigid. I felt like, our childhood was different. So my dad was a developer. He built a lot of things, a lot of shopping centers and things like that. And so what typical children did and enjoyed, we kind of like were immersed into his businesses quite early. And so like our day-to-day outside of school either revolved around the business or church. So we didn't really have any other scope outside of that. Yes, we did activities, basketball, ballet, dance, all those type of things. But really, our whole lives, revolved around his work. Amazing. So we didn't really have that. I don't think we even imagined anything else until it was time to leave. And so I think that's what spurred the desire for me to be like, okay, let me go to the UK. Let me go to Nigeria. It was my way to like pull away from that bubble